Hey guys, it's me, Ryan Eshoff. Um, Sorry I haven't really addressed you guys in this group yet. I've been a little busy the last few days, but I'm excited for what I think this book club can do for us, especially those of us who feel convicted that we need to learn more about our own privilege and our own place in the society and what we can do to make this a more equitable place. Um, so I'm very excited to dive into these texts this summer, and I hope that you are too. And I hope that you are as excited about conversing in regards to them, about learning in regards to them, and really just experiencing some voices and some perspectives that we don't have a lot of access to unless we intentionally go looking for them. And that in and of itself is one of the problems that our society faces right now. So again, very excited to dive into this. As we said on the group page, okay, we're going to start with "Their Eyes Are Watching God" by Zora Neale Hurston, who is amazing. She's Mrs. Ortiz's celebrity crush, which is awesome, even though she's been dead for quite a while. So that's a little strange, Mrs. Ortiz, but we love Zora. She's amazing. If you remember from AP Lang, we read a little Hurston, but just a little short snippet of hers. So this will be maybe the first time that you will have had the chance to read Zora in a full novel, although it's only 200 pages, so hopefully it doesn't take us too long. So next week, I'll plan on kicking off our discussions on "Their Eyes Are Watching God," because by that time, I hope that you've all been able to acquire the book and maybe we'll begin diving into it. Obviously, if somebody wants to beat me to the punch and start posting about "Their Eyes Are Watching God," feel free to do so. I'm happy to facilitate this, but I'm not just like in teacher mode trying to give lesson plans and plan units and things like that. If you guys have things that you want to say on anything that we're talking about, don't feel like you need my prompting or anyone else's prompting to do so, okay? But I also posted those two letters side by side, James Baldwin's letter to his nephew and Ta-Nehisi Coates' letter to his son. And talk about two incredibly powerful epistles that are so salient for our times right now in this country. Just a couple quick notes on those guys. Baldwin, as I mentioned in the post, he is one of the great writers ever, period, but particularly in regards to the civil rights movement in this country, and especially in the civil rights movement of the 1960s. As a Black writer, he became one of the definitive voices of that civil rights movement. Good friends with Malcolm X, good friends with Martin Luther King. And Ta-Nehisi Coates, who's a contemporary writer, really credits Baldwin with being one of his inspirations. And I read an interview with Coates where he says that many people seem to think that Baldwin inspired him simply because of the similar political leanings. But in fact, Coates is on record as saying that what inspired him the most about Baldwin was Baldwin's ability to tell a story beautifully, right? And that there is more power and more meaning in the ability to tell a story beautifully, okay? And as a literature person, I agree, and I love that that's Coates' perspective, because Baldwin not only has some very powerful and convicting things to say about civil rights and social justice in this country, especially in regards to the Black community, but he also tells these stories in incredibly rich and beautiful ways. And Coates very much does his best to match that level of storytelling, which you might agree with if you've ever read any of the things that he's written, aside from the letter that I posted. Okay, so I really, again, like I said, posted those two letters as a chance just to contextualize this book club in terms of some of the themes that we're going to address, in terms of some of the writers that we're going to explore and some of the voices that we're going to listen to and hopefully learn from. But also, both of those guys, Baldwin and Coates, are authors that I highly encourage you to explore further on your own time if you get a chance. They're both fantastic. They both spent a good amount of time in their lives writing outside of America, specifically in France, in Paris, and both have said that stepping away from America has allowed them to better observe and recognize the uniqueness of American racism, right? A country quite literally built on systemic racism, and that is our great tragedy as a nation. And even in countries, as they say, like France, where they were, that have problems of their own in terms of race, they're so much different still than America built as it was on the backs of slaves. Just a lot of great things to convict us and challenge us from both those writers. And again, highly encourage you to look into them on your own time if you can. One phrase that shows up if you ever read interviews of either Baldwin or Coates, and I'll post some of the ones that I've seen because I think they're really good to read. They talk about this idea that it's really a Baldwin quote: "Those who believe themselves to be white." Okay, it's a very powerful yet simple phrase. Those who believe themselves to be white. Okay, and the implication there that we know Baldwin intends to give off is that racial thoughts and racial sentiment does involve human agency, meaning we cannot dismiss racism or racial ideas as simply natural, inherent, accidental, whatever you want to call it, right? That in stepping into a system, supporting a system, elevating a system, doing nothing to change the system, if we are believing ourselves to be white, that is a racist action. And Coates has said that he really seizes on that idea from Baldwin's work, and that line alone is one of like the driving forces behind his own writing and his own critical thinking. It's a very powerful thought. And again, in thinking about breaking down some of the privilege that those of us who are in the white community currently enjoy in this country, it's a powerful thing to think about, right? We are believing ourselves to be white. We are subconsciously recognizing, acknowledging, and choosing to be part of a system that oppresses our Black neighbors. Okay. Again, just a lot of powerful stuff from both of these guys. Okay. So that's Baldwin and Coates. I hope you guys get the chance to read those letters. And if you want, read more of those guys because they are brilliant and have a lot of good things to say. Okay, that's it for me for today. I plan on seeing you guys again next week, or having you guys see me again next week as we kick off our discussions on Their Eyes Are Watching God. So long, everyone. Hope you have a nice day.